This is an iPhone 13 mini. The back glass is broken. I'm going to do a back glass replacement on this device. The back glass replacement on this iPhone applies to the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So I started hitting the back glass of the iPhone and I tried to remove a piece of glass, but it wasn't working. So the back glass on the iPhone 13 mini currently does not have any area where I can start removing the glass. So this is why I'm cracking the back of the iPhone 13 mini in order to have a small opening and start the removal process of the broken glass. The first thing that you need to do is to hit the back glass and try to remove a piece of glass with your blade. If you're unable to find an opening, you need to do the same thing that I did. Create another crack on the back glass that is already broken and try to start removing the glass on that area. As you can see, currently the process of removing the glass is going well now. I'm starting to remove the glass on the area that I broke earlier, and you can see it is going really fast now. So if you decide to start around the wireless charging coil area, you need to be careful because the magnets are really fragile and you can get the glass and the magnet removed altogether. For sure, the area where we have the wireless charging coil is the most easy part to remove because there is not much glue compared to the other areas of the phone. So if you want to do this, I advise that you put some gloves. I forgot to put the gloves while I was doing this back glass replacement on this iPhone 13 mini, and also put some eye protection. So currently I'm trying to add some glue remover on the area where the glass is already broken in order to soften the glue that is behind the back glass. You do not have to do this. This was only an experiment in order to see if the glue remover is going to make this process more easy. The way you need to do this in order to be fast is to have the heat gun directly pointing on the area where you're removing the glass. This is going to be more easy in the removal process of the broken glass. The heat gun that I'm using has only 2 power modes. It is either high or low, so most of the time I was using the low power output of the heat gun. This is going to work, but if it gets very difficult to remove the broken glass, I tend to use the high setting on the heat gun, and this was only for a few seconds. You can see almost all the broken glass at the bottom of the device below the wireless charging coil has been removed. So currently I'm going to start working on the area where we have the wireless charging coil. The yellow tape that you see is heat resistant. I use that to protect the battery that is directly below that surface. On that area there is a small opening where we have some magnet for the MagSafe, and directly below that magnet is the battery. So you need to remember that on that area the battery is there and it is exposed, so you need to be very careful with the blade in order to not puncture the battery, which can create fire and ultimately completely destroy your smartphone. The other area to be careful is the wireless charging coil, which is directly below the battery. You need to be careful on that area also not to insert the blade below the wireless charging coil and puncture the battery. You can see here I remove a piece of glass that came out with the magnet. I can reinstall it later. So most of the glass around the wireless charging coil is not very difficult to remove. You just need to be careful not to remove the magnet together with the broken glass. The most difficult part to remove will be the camera glass area. The glass that is around the camera is the most difficult part to remove. To avoid removing the magnet, you need to press on the magnet and put the blade between the magnet and the glass. And after that, you can simply go and remove the glass without removing the magnet. At the center of the wireless charging coil, the glass is not glued directly onto it. Instead, the glass is glued to a plastic that is on top of the wireless charging coil. Just like I did it, if all the magnets are out of the way, you can simply pull that glass and remove it out of the wireless charging coil area. So does using glue remover is going to help me remove the glass? I think it doesn't work really well because the glue remover is going to help you remove some of the glass, but most of the glass are going to stay glued to the frame of the device. So ultimately using the heat gun is going to be the best option and the most time efficient. I'm going to have all the links to the tool that I used in order to do this video in the description so that you will have access to all these and choose the one that you want. At the top right of the phone, you're going to have a cutout for some of the components. You will need to be careful on that area to avoid having the blade puncture any of those components that are exposed. Those components can be scratched and work correctly, but if you puncture them, it might get damaged. Also on that area, they did the same thing. The glass is not directly glued to the component. There is a plastic between the glass and the component, which makes it very easy to remove the broken glass on that area. Currently, I might say I remove almost 80% of the glass that that is on the back of this iPhone. Shortly, I will be starting removing the glass that is around the camera, and this is going to be the most difficult part in order to remove all the glass out of this iPhone. So I was having a little bit of difficulty in removing the glass around the camera, so I decided to add a little bit of the solution, the glue remover, in order to see if it is going to help me remove the glass a little bit easily. So the biggest mistake that I did while doing the glass removal around the camera was to not crack the glass around the camera more. The glass around the cameras is thicker and it is more solid than the other glass that I already removed, and this is why you need to crack that glass in smaller pieces. It is going to help you remove the glass more easily. There is a small tool that is made to crack the glass around the camera of these iPhones, and I advise that you get that tool if you want to remove the glass around the camera more easily. Also, using too much brute force is going to remove the camera rings that are around the camera, because the glass goes at the bottom of the camera rings, and if you pull it very strong, it is going to remove the camera ring with the glass. Also very important, make sure that you keep the small mesh that is on top of the microphone near the cameras. You're going to need that in the replacement of the back glass. Keep that in mind while removing the glass around the microphone. Also earlier I tested the cameras to make sure that they are working properly due to the amount of heat that I use around the camera. They were still working without any issues. So using too much heat is not going to destroy the cameras. Just make sure that while hitting the camera area, you move the heat gun right and left, and you do not stay on one single spot for more than 1 second. Also here, I just removed the glass that is around the flashlight. While doing that, make sure that you're very careful, because the cable for the flashlight is exposed, and if you're not careful, you might damage the flashlight or even cut it. So here the issue that I'm facing is that the glass is one big piece that goes around the camera and touches the other camera. So here it is very difficult to remove that, and I struggled for a few minutes in order to remove that glass. It was very difficult, and I even cracked the blade multiple times. I even used the solution, the glue remover, in order to help me, but it didn't work, and this is why I'm saying that the tool to crack the glass around the camera is a must-have, because it is going to help you remove the glass more easily. I decided to add a little bit of the glue remover on that area, and with the blade directly below the glass, you can see the blade just cracked. This is why I'm saying to be very careful around this glass, because the flashlight is exposed. It can get damaged very easily, and you will have to open the device in order to replace the flashlight. I was finally able to remove the glass that was stuck between the two cameras, and this one was a big piece of glass. I believe that using heat was the primary reason why I was able to remove it. One thing that you can do in order to protect the flashlight against the heat is to apply some heat resistant tape around the flashlight once you have the glass around the flashlight removed. At least with the heat resistant tape, you're going to have one layer of protection in order to avoid having the flashlight damaged by heat. The last big piece of glass left is at the top left of the device, and this one also is tricky because it is the same dimension as the one that is around the cameras, and it can be a little bit more difficult to remove as opposed to the other corners of the device. In order to remove that piece of glass, I had to heat it first, and after that I took my green scalpel and I applied some pressure in order to push the glass out of the camera ring. So after this, my question was, is the camera still working? So you can see on the screen the camera looks a little bit fuzzy and blurry. Now it is a lot better. I had to clean the camera glass to make it very clean, and after that you can see the camera are working properly. The remaining glass that is only at the edge of the device should be removed also and cleaned after. To do that, you need to hit the area where you have the glass and use your blade to remove all the piece of glass. Also make sure to clean everything in order to remove all the small piece of glue that is still on the back of the device. You can even use a fine sandpaper to smooth out all the surface if you want. This is what I did with my iPhone 11 back glass replacement. For the installation, make sure that you test the new back glass first to make sure that it is properly fitted on the back of your iPhone, especially the camera area and also the flashlight. You can see on mine everything looks good, so I'm going to proceed into the installation of the back glass. So this is a back glass that came with pre-installed double-sided tape. At the center you have the area for the wireless charging. You can remove the protecting film on that area also, and you're going to see the double-sided tape for that area. So now the glass is fully covered with double-sided tape, And also on the frame of the device, I'm going to add B7000. This is the right way to do this. If you use only double-sided tape, it is not going to be sufficient in order to keep the glass on the back of the device. So I did the same thing that Apple did. I added the B7000 only on the frame of the device. Before you proceed, this is the time to install the small mesh for the external microphone before you install the back glass. Align the cameras and the flashlight with the back glass first. After those have been fully fitted, you can start applying some pressure on the back glass for it to stick onto the frame of the device. Like I said on mine, I forgot to keep the small mesh for the external microphone. You need to have that in place before you install the back glass. If it is lost, you can proceed with the installation of the back glass. Also, since Apple didn't have any plastic on their back glass on the inside, you should remove the double-sided tape that is on the back of the back glass before you install it with B7000. The next step is going to have some clamps applied pressure on the device and the back glass altogether. You can leave the device like this for 10 to 20 minutes before removing the clamps. Will you try something like this on the iPhone 13?